They had this moment where you're supposed to close your eyes, and I opened my eyes and my mom was in front of me.
Whoa.
So she was there the whole time in the back room. I think she's in Florida. And when I tell you I lost it,
God.
I was like, what?
That's wild.
Oh my God. And that was really my moment, because it was like,
wow.
all right, like my mom flew here because she knew I was going to run.
Right. Deep breath in. There it is. Okay, cool. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Who Can Relate. As you can see, we've gotten an upgrade. Peter and Jared, who are the lovely hosts of these headquarters for Who Can Relate, I guess, hooked it up today. And this was a nice, pleasant surprise. So today's guest is very special, and she's going to really help you guys out with a ton of knowledge, ton of insight, and let's get into it. So without further ado, Sarah, welcome to Who Can Relate.
Thank you. I'm nervous.
No, you're good. It's funny because when we first I think when we first had like either a voice note thing back and forth or actual phone call, you were like, I feel like you're going to be like a therapist. Yeah. And then the couch came. So it's like kind of
perfect timing.
Here we are.
I'm cozy.
Cool. So why don't you give everyone a little bit more of a background about yourself?
Okay. Do we start from like beginning, like where I'm from, right?
Yeah, whatever you want. Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 siblings, and when I was maybe around the age of 8 years old, we left Israel, me, my mother, and my 3 siblings. And we went to New York. Mm-hmm. We lived with my grandma, and my mom kind of just had to get herself together and find work. And she came here with literally, I believe, 200 shekel, which is about $50 with 4 kids. So, and that's true. That's not like to make the story cool.
No. How old were you? Like, how long ago was this?
I was about 8 years old, and there was 4 of us. So that beginning part, of my new life in America was definitely a struggle. Mm-hmm. For all of us, I think, all my siblings ended up having some sort of issue in their adolescence based off of this major move. Sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we just kind of moved around a lot in New York, just from town to town. We never stayed anywhere longer than a year.
Okay.
Like ever.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of different schools and different experiences, and just kind of finding our place there. We were very like fish out of water. Mm-hmm. So that was the beginning for me.
Okay. And you live in LA now?
I live in LA now. There was some other places in between that, but
sure.
LA has been about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
That's where I'm at now.
And we met at a sports rehab gym, and our first interaction was I offered you chocolate.
Did you?
I think so. And you were like, "Oh no, I'm good." Because are you
you
vegan?
I remember this. I am.
You're vegan, right? Yeah. So my mom was in town.
That is why I said no.
My mom was in town, and my mom's love language is gifts. So the first time she went to sports rehab, they like hooked her up. She was like walking better. She had like Stella got her groove back, and she was like, when I come back, she works at a chocolate store in Chicago. So she's like, when I come back, I'm gonna give you guys like these boxes of chocolate. So I was walking around with the box like, you get some chocolate, you get some chocolate. And I pulled up to you and I was like, you want some chocolate? You're like, nah, player. I'm vegan.
I can't.
I was like, shut down. Okay, cool.
And that was hard for me because I love food. Like, it was not easy for me to be vegan. It still isn't. Like,
yeah.
It's
no, it's all good. So, yeah. So, but then one thing led to another. We started following each other, and I was, my intuition was confirmed that you're just way deeper than most people, and I really felt that, and so. Here we are now, about to really get into
we're about to dive
to some good stuff.
Let's do it.
So yesterday we talked for a while, and we talked about what we wanted to go over today, what we wanted to cover, and one of the first things that you brought up was mental health, and kind of what that means to you, what struggles you've had in your life because of it, how you've overcome it for the most part, right? We're all, I think it's very important to make this clear, like. We all deal with some type of mental health, Absolutely. Whether it's an insecurity, trauma, self-doubt, not talking nice to yourself, etc. So kind of walk me through, like, what are some of the trials and tribulations for you with mental health, whether it's past, present, and kind of what your solutions are that you created specifically for you.
Okay. Well, definitely everyone has different levels. And I think that's important to touch on, you know, because I consider my situation to be on like the extreme level of mental health.
Okay.
And I guess it definitely started from coming to the United States for sure. It began there because that was the first experience of trauma. We were taken from my father and into a new country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and in an ugly situation, like my father was an alcoholic and we were kind of like running from that. So automatically like things started shaky for me at a very young age. And then also my entire family deals with mental health on an extreme level.
Wow.
So not just my immediate family, my uncles, my cousins.
Wow.
I have an aunt that has 8 kids. So like a lot of people in my family, and every single person has some sort of drug abuse, mental health, suicide, depression, like all extreme, you know? So it's really been in our blood. So on top of like traumatic experiences, it's actually like genetic, you know? And it followed me into my adolescence for sure. It started very young, like probably around 10 or 11 did I start experiencing like depression and looking in the mirror and starting to feel like, ew, why do I feel this way about myself, right?
Wow.
And at like 10, 11 years old. So into 12, 13, where a girl starts getting her period, her body's changing, it was definitely even more extreme for me. And the body dysmorphia, I think, was the beginning of the hardships for me and what kind of made me go a little crazy, because I was seeing something that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And when you're seeing something that isn't there at that age, like you can really lose your you know? And I did lose my I missed a lot of school to be treated for the depression, and my relationships with friends were very rocky, and I got into relationships like, you know, physical relationships with boys at probably way too young, you know, and all of these things happening at the same time with the mental health stuff. It made me kind of a mess.
It's
like
a bad combo.
Really early, you know. I experienced my first hospitalization when I was like 14.
Oh man.
So
wow.
Part of the reason I didn't graduate high school.
Okay.
So yeah, let's go.
Off to a great. This is it's important though, because, you know, not that I'm trying to peel back everyone's curtain, right, and say, surprise, like this is who this person. No, but it's just, it's real. Yeah. It's real. And at the end of the day, that's what my main goal is for people to know that this is not a facade. This is not for show. I don't care about money. I just want to help people. And you will help out so many people with this story. So you mentioned that you had like a near life and death experience, and then walk me through how, because all doctors and Western medicine doctors are like, here, pop this pill, take this, right? And you were like, I don't really know.
Well, I had to, right? Because I was under 18. And
back then. Okay, sure.
So when it started, when I was actually on Western medication.
Got it.
I had, like I shared with you, I was on a cocktail, right? There was like the ADHD stuff and the anxiety stuff and depression stuff. And I was kind of forced to take this medication because I was clinically, you know, diagnosed. Yeah. So I was on all of these things, and in my experience, it made it worse for me. I just felt a lot crazier. You know what I mean? And I didn't take myself off of these medications for years, probably up until, I'm going to say like 21 or 22 was like the last time I took any sort of medication.
So like 7 years you were on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it got less and less. There were points where I was like, I'm only going to take the mood stabilizing stuff, because I was fully aware of my mood swings. Like it kind of drove me crazy, like the ups and downs of, it, you know, it messes everything up, relationships, everything you can think of, right? So that was important for me to stabilize. And then I started learning that there's something else, right? And there's eating right and exercising and reading some books and different ways of being, right?
How did you find this new way of help?
It's kind of always been somewhere in my life because of my mother. My mother is a health and wellness coach. She's a Pilates instructor, yogi, healer. She works with all different companies and all about healing people, right? And she's kind of always been in that world. But she was never able to force it on me. You know what I mean? Especially being a true authentic healer. She knows that she cannot force, and you're going to learn when you learn and how you learn, right? So as much as she introduced me to it and showed me, she was always cooking organic. You know what I mean? Like just in small ways did I start picking it up and kind of having it like, okay, I see it's there, but I'm not ready yet.
Sure, sure.
I still want to be crazy for a little while.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she was definitely the first person that I saw it happening with. And she led some personal growth workshops. She was a coach in them and stuff. And by the age of 18, which you had to be 18 to join these workshops, I finally decided like to give it a shot. Mm-hmm. I ran within an hour. It was like a 3-day workshop. And I was like, okay, I'm doing it. I paid, it was like $500, you know, and I got there and the guy started talking and I was literally like,
bad idea.
I was just still not ready, even though I was trying like I kept trying to go to the gym, kept trying to eat healthy, personal growth workshops, right? But I ran every time and I didn't complete, you know?
Wow. Okay. So every time you ran, you're just repeating the same patterns, right? Over and over. Do you remember when you were like, okay, my idea is not working anymore. I can't keep running. Like, what was the catalyst, if you remember a moment or a time or a person that was kind of like the wake-up call, if you will, to stop running?
There were so many times. Like, I cannot count how many times I had, like, given up or ran, you know? So to try and remember a moment, it was in one of these personal growth workshops. It was my third attempt at this specific workshop in New York. I would fly there to go do it. And it was the third day, like completion time, like the last hour of the workshop, super intense moment. And I ran, literally, physically ran out of the room. And I was in New York City.
Wow.
And my mom was in Florida at the time, living there. And she called me and she was like, if you don't get your back in there and finish. And this was the first time that she was like forcing it on me. You know what I mean? She was like, you're not doing this again. Like, I will not allow you to do this again. And I didn't understand why she was being so like pressuring me. And I was just like, no, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore, you know? And she somehow convinced me to go back this same night. You know, they all waited for me. This like group of 20 people were like, we're not going to finish until Sarah comes back. And I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. Go about your business.
And I go back and they had this moment where you're supposed to close your eyes. And I opened my eyes and my mom was in front of me.
Whoa.
So she was there the whole time in the back room. I think she's in Florida. And when I tell you I lost it,
God.
I was like, what?
That's wild.
Oh my God. And that was really my moment because it was like, all right. Like my mom flew here because she knew I was going to run.
Right.
And she flew here for the completion moment because she was like, this is the first time I'm going to see my daughter complete something. And that was really it for me. That was a breakthrough.
Shout out to your mom. And I'm going to call her the creator because I saw she called you right now.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Your phone was over there. And I was like, this must be her mom. They look alike. And it said creator. Yeah. But
that's funny.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It was.
And you know, when we were talking yesterday, we were going over how, you know, my little moment with my daughter and I showed up for her. And you were like, that's good that you pulled up for her. You showed up for her. And like your mom talking about like showing up for you, you're thinking she's in a whole nother state. Yeah. And she was there for you. Wow. Dude. That's crazy. I had to let that marinate. Good for you. God. Good for your mom.
It was intense. I'm remembering it right.
Man.
It's hitting me.
That's special. And that's something that you guys will always have. That's amazing. I think a follow-up question back to the running, Forrest Gump. I'm just trying to figure out, what were you running from? Like what was the ultimate demon or ultimate fear factor that you kept running from? You're like, I'm not ready. I don't want to hit this yet. I don't want to like, what happened?
Right. I couldn't look at myself. I think that's what it really comes down to. And that's the same answer to why I ran in relationships. You know what I mean? If you got too deep, if you got too close, if you got too vulnerable, somebody would maybe see that you're up. too up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was a reason. And I physically ran many times in my life. Like I tried to move to multiple places and I was like, this is the answer. I should live in Hawaii. Because if I live in Hawaii, all my partners are going to go. And I really physically moved to Hawaii.
Oh my God.
In the middle of a relationship, like with a guy in New York. And I was with this guy for 5 years and I moved 3 times in this 5-year relationship. Like I was really sick.
Wow.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Chris.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really, I kept feeling like something is wrong with the place. It's not me. It must be the location, right? And that's why I have wherever you go, there you are tattooed on me. Something my mom always said to me, because of course, the second I was moving somewhere, I called my mom. I'm like, hey, I'm going to move to St. Thomas. this time. Actually, I really did that too. I always felt like my answer was in like a secluded island of some sort. I was really out of my mind. And I attempted it, and I always came home, and I was always like, oh, I'm still here though.
Sure.
Like I didn't go anywhere.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it comes back to your question. Like I could not look at myself deep enough. I was scared to see what I would find, you know?
So I think off the top of my head, I think it goes back to you didn't love yourself yet.
100%.
And loving yourself is very hard to do. It's easier said than done, right? And I think everyone needs to realize too, if you can relate to any of this, loving yourself means different things for different people. The self-love care package is not a one size fits all.
Absolutely.
Why is it so hard for you to love yourself?
Wow, what a money question. I think it definitely all depends on the person, but the big answer is, I think that's the way the society is set up. And I shared that with you last night was,
right.
You know, the TV and the models and the celebrities and the money and, you know, you're supposed to look this way and you know, like these are all things that make you look at yourself and you're like, I'm not good enough. Yeah. And that goes deep into your bones when you start thinking that way. And then you start settling for people that make you feel bad. Right. And then you continue eating foods that are terrible for you or, you know, indulging in vices and all of these things that make you hate yourself even more. And then you keep buying the products to make yourself feel better. You know, like we can go in circles about this one. I know. But there's also so many different ways to love yourself, right? There's take a bath and do a face mask and call a friend. Like there's all these different things that people tell you of self-love acts, but it goes deeper than that. It's also talking gently to yourself. It's also, you know, I saw a quote that I really loved the other day. It said, self-love isn't about fixing yourself. It's about loving the parts of yourself that you need to fix or that you think you need to fix. That's something deep. Like that.
I love that.
I loved it too. And what's so funny, when I saw this quote, I was defensive. When I looked at a quote, I got defensive. I was like, I feel victimized.
I was gonna say you felt exposed.
Because that's my main struggle with my self-love is all of these things I'm so aware of that need fixing, right? And this is a problem that you act this way and your past is a problem and this and this. Sure. And then you beat yourself up over these things. You need to change. You're not good enough. And instead of that, you're supposed to be like, hey, what do you need, sweetie? You know what I mean? Like, how would you talk to a child if they were sitting there saying they're not good enough?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I just was going to say yesterday you were talking about how, you know, you need to nurture and still cater to that little girl. You know, it's not about getting rid of the little girl inside you, getting rid of the little boy inside me. It's a matter of healing and providing comfort and care and love, right? I think just because we, you know, grow up to be adults, it's like, it doesn't mean those, you know, loving, caring moments just disappear and go away. You know, I think we try to push them under the rug because it's, you know, maybe baggage to the next person coming into your life. Or like, they don't deserve that. I'm not trying to do that. But it's like, it's a part of you. It's a matter of balancing it. It's a matter of trying to find the happy medium. Like, you know what? Sometimes I'm not 100% all the time. You know what I mean? And that's okay. You know what I mean? Okay. No one's out here perfect. But the other thing I wanted to mention too was, and you said this yesterday, and I was like, man, that's it. Until you know how to love yourself, right? Let's go with this. You're still going to be hurt in some way, shape, or form. And you said, hurt people hurt people. Right. And I was like,
I didn't make that up.
No. But I was just like, man, that's really good. That's deep. Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw that, I don't know when I saw that, probably years ago, I was like, damn, like that hit me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I was aware of what I was doing, you know, when I was hurting other people in relationships specifically, I knew that it was because I wasn't fully healed. And I really had no business getting into relationships. And I mean, I can really only speak for myself. I would like to say nobody should get into a relationship, you know, if they're not fully healed, but everybody needs love. Everybody needs affection. Right. And that was the main thing for me. My selfishness was like, I need the love. I need the affection. I have like a wifey personality. I need to cook for you. I need to love you. I need to give you all this affection, but I'm not going to pay any attention to myself. Right. So I was really never able to find this balance in relationships. And I ended up just continuously hurting people. And it was also about not wanting to get too deep. So I would sabotage the relationship in some way, shape, or form. Running, cheating, dishonesty, you know, and it all tied into don't, you know, kind of stay a little over there, right? Or just go away completely. Because the second that a fight broke out or like we got into an argument, I was like, bye then.
I'm out.
Bye then. You know, and they were always like, why don't you want to fix this?
You would run.
I'm like, I don't want to fix this. I want to fix myself. I wanted to fix myself and I was aware of that, but I still found myself hurting other people, you know?
That's so interesting though, because you in a relationship, forget about yourself. You're more catering to your partner. And then as soon as like you're hit with a crossroad with your partner, you all of a sudden are like, I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah, selfish mode turns on real quick.
That's crazy.
It's also a mood balancing thing.
Yeah, that's so interesting because that's very interesting.
Yeah.
How do you find, or have you found, I guess, the balance to that equation? So I'll frame it better. How do you balance selflessness and selfishness in the healthy way?
That's such a tough question for me.
And if you don't have the answer, that's okay.
Well, the thing is, I haven't mastered it, which is why I'm single, right? Because I made the decision that I don't want to hurt anyone else anymore.
Until you're healed.
And then I want to be fully committed to my healing, correct? So I am in a place now where I don't want to say I'm fully healed because I don't think that's a real thing. You're never going to... You're human, right? We're
always evolving.
Exactly. So, but I am complete, right?
Yeah.
I feel complete. And I think that's the most important thing now for me to say out loud.
Yeah.
You know, does that mean that I'm ready to be in a relationship? I don't know. I really don't know. I know that I have yet to meet the person that I want to stay and work through it with.
Sure.
Right. So when I meet that person, I think I will be in a place now where I can actually stay put and look them in the eye and have some real communication skills. And how do we work through this instead of me being like, I'm better by myself anyway.
Sure.
Thank you.
So if anyone is listening or watching to this and they're like, that's me, that is 100% me. But how do I know if I'm ready for a relationship? Is there ever a moment where you're like, so for me, for example, when I met my wife, I was very transparent and very clear with her and saying, I'm under construction, but I promise you I'm worth the wait. And I promise you I'm going to be consistent with this work no matter what it takes me. Number one, for myself. Number two, for my daughter. And number three, just to break this lineage curse. And then all of the above will in turn benefit not only just you, but us in a relationship, hopefully potential marriage. So I was very clear and transparent with her because there was that creep of self-doubt in my head. Like, I think this is the right girl. In fact, I know it's the right girl. I just don't know if it's the right time. But then I was like, when is it the right time, bro? Right. How many times are you going to keep running? How many times are you going to keep saying not yet, or make excuses or keep putting distractions on your plate? I'm like, enough is enough. I was just over the bullshit. And I was just like, this has to end now. And I have to be the one to end it, right? Because I used to try to fill these voids that I was having in my life with women. Terrible equation. Like, don't ever do that. It's just a dead end street. So anyways, when I was at that crossroad, like, she is the one. Like, this is my opportunity door knocking. What am I going to do with this opportunity? Am I going to run from it? Or am I going to man up and say, hey, look, full transparency, I'm going to be real vulnerable with you right now. I'm probably not where I would like to be for you because I already know your worth. I already know your value. I already know what you deserve. I'm not quite there yet, but I promise you I'll get there ASAP. And therefore, we started our relationship.
And you wanted to get there for her, which is the most powerful part.
I wanted to get there for myself, first and foremost. And then I knew she was the perfect one to receive the best version of myself. You know what I mean? Kind of like she was the one that deserved that. So you apologize to Chris, I think your ex. Like, I apologize to my exes. But I just like, I didn't feel, do you have that feeling of like, you don't deserve like the best version of myself? For sure. I just felt that in my gut. Sure. And I was like, but she does. And as they say, one day it'll make sense why it never worked out with anybody else. And I had that day. So that's how I knew. Thank you. But that's how I knew I was ready for a relationship, because I was like, enough is enough. Right. And if I'm going to do it for anyone besides myself and besides my daughter and my loved ones, it's going to be for my future wife. And I knew she was the future wife. So I got a little sidetracked, but nonetheless, I'll go back to the original.
But that was your reason.
That was my
when
reason,
you
personally.
Learned you were ready because you found the person that you wanted to be ready for. You know what I mean? And you were like, let's go. I'm going to do this with you if I'm going to do it with anyone, right?
I guess I just answered my question.
Yeah, you totally did.
That's dope. Okay. Well, all right. So moving on to the next questions. Okay. So here, and this will coincide. Part of the reason why I was telling my wife back then, my girlfriend, that I was under construction was, if I'm being honest to you and if I'm being honest to back then my girlfriend, now my wife, I knew what I wanted I had never seen before. Okay, so furthermore, every marriage that I got close or attached to in some way, shape, or form, friends, family, whatever, it wasn't the healthiest. And in my household, more specifically, nothing was healthy as of a relationship. Bless my mom's heart, it just was not the right upbringing to have, the happily ever after story, like rule book, blueprint. I didn't have that. So seeing my mom, seeing my dad struggle, I'm like, okay, so I want a marriage, I want a family, but I have no idea what that looks like. And I have no idea how to even try to obtain that. But I want to marry you, honey. It was just, you know what I mean? I had that thing, and I was like, hopefully you can show me the way. And she was kind of like, I didn't really have that either. But don't worry. Let's figure it out together. Right. Let's build our own foundation, the new foundation. So that way for our kids, they're going to know. Exactly. On a day-to-day basis, they're going to be able to see what that looks like. More important, they're going to be able to feel what that looks like. And that's kind of what we go on. But something that we talked about yesterday when we were again, going over the episode, you mentioned that you're like, I don't even know what like a healthy relationship, but I want it. So for people who are in our boat, what does that look like? Like what is the possible solution? Is it a matter, and I'm asking myself, is this a matter of finding that partner who will meet you halfway? Or is it a matter of like, you know what, I'm going to do everything I can in my control and my power to figure it out before I get my partner and then show them the way?
That one.
Okay.
I'm going to go with B.
Okay.
Because for me, I haven't met my person, but I'm so happy with myself and so comfortable. And I don't need to sleep with anyone at night. I don't need to call someone when I'm lonely anymore. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And I also think it's important to know what you want. And when you do personal growth work and self-love work and stop looking for somebody, sure, you start getting really, really clear on what you want, right?
And what you don't want.
What you don't want.
Especially too.
And what you deserve. And that was something that I never understood. I didn't date anyone seriously that was like actually what I would want to be with. And that was part of like not wanting anyone to get too deep, right? So I wasn't going to actually be with the man I want to be with because I'm not ready yet. So I'm just going to date, idiots or whatever. Sorry.
No. We're gonna trial and error.
Do it.
You're about to trial and error. That's it.
But yeah, for me, I do feel like I'm for the first time actually ready to be in a relationship, but that doesn't mean that I'm like opening up the gates and like, let's go, I want to start dating. And it's just that I'm clear and I'm so certain. So when you're that clear and so certain, I can't be swayed. I can't be manipulated. I'm not going to find myself in any toxic situations because I'm so aware of what toxicity looks like, of what manipulation looks like. Yeah. And that creeps in real quietly, especially with men. Real quietly, right?
I feel like
they're very good.
It's my department to step in and
take over, Justin.
Give some clarity. Okay. Well, I think if I can take myself back to when I was that guy. I hate to keep repeating myself on all these episodes, but it must be true. Men, to a very strong degree, lack self-awareness. And even if we do find it, it's pretty late. We were never shown it. Even if we were too lazy to put in the work consistently because it's a lot of work all the time. And therefore, I think we try to fill that void with women, and we try to mask our problems with the woman's problem, right? We focus on what's wrong with you instead of trying to repair us. Nothing that I'm saying is going to go over well, but it's the truth. It is what it is. And luckily, I'm on the other side of it now, but that's why I can get back to it, because I was there. And being the manipulator that I used to be at times, here's a...
Congratulations for admitting that.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Here's a cheat code to women from men. Oh, this is hard. Okay, here we go. Sorry, fellas. Sorry. As someone who was able to manipulate women, I had moments where I was like a shark in water, and as soon as I smelled blood, I was coming for you. As soon as I started to smell or sense that I could take you for granted or run circles around you or mask my problems and distract myself, I was all over it. Because it bought me time. It was like a Band-Aid effect. But once I realized that, again, that's not the solution, because my problems, as much as I kept shoving them under the rug, would eventually reappear over and over and over. And I was like, I have to break this chain. Like, I'm the problem in these relationships. Like, I'm the common denominator. Like, it's time to get it together. But that was the self-awareness moment. My daughter had a lot to do with that, because I believe in karma. And as she was getting older, I realized that it was a matter of time before she starts to date. It's a matter of time before she's like, Dad, meet my fiance type. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I can't even finish the sentence. I can't even finish the sentence. Mama, I love you. Just chill out, man. Just chill out. But I knew that I did not want to be the bad example for her. I didn't want her to know that side of me, that ugly side of me, so that was it. First and foremost, the self-awareness moment. And then obviously when I met my wife, it was just totally like all systems go, and but again, if anyone is ready for a relationship who just got done healing or is still currently healing, as I call, that person under construction, as I said this on another episode, that you have to be careful when you're under construction, because again, as a manipulator, as I once was, it's like blood in the water as a shark to us. We sense it and we feel it and we're like coming for you. So you have to be prepared that in case someone just, so let's say you're still under construction, you start to date, and the guy is starting to do some nice gestures for you, right? And maybe he's getting you candles and like essential oils and stuff, right? And and then it's like all of a sudden the games creep out, and you're like, wait, you're not really who you said you were. You're living this double life. You have to be careful that you don't revert back to your old ways, because you could run, or you could self-sabotage, etc., or you could just put up with it, being like, I see the potential in him or her. No, it's okay. And you're starting to make excuses. But instead,
you're clear, right? So when you're clear, those red flags are real red. And I'm also not going to tolerate any bull. Right. And honestly, some might call that like on a high horse or arrogant or, no one's perfect or whatever. But I've done the work. And I've done the toxicity. Right. And I don't ever want to feel that way ever again. I like ever. So the first sign of some bullshit, I'm out. And I don't know if that's the same thing as a runner. I don't think it is. This time.
Allow me to try to help you out.
Okay, let's do it.
And if I'm wrong, let me know.
Okay.
It's not that you're arrogant. It's not like, I don't know if I'm a runner. It's a matter of now you are very clear on what your self-worth is and what your value is. And unless you're clear on those two things, you're either going to run or you're going to stay in a situation longer than you need to. Right. Everyone needs to get more clear on their self-worth and their value as a woman, as a man, as just a human being. And until you have those guidelines and those standards, you don't know what to put up with. Right. You don't know what's right or wrong. It doesn't really sit right, doesn't really feel right, but you can't articulate your emotions to that person that's causing you to feel these things. But when you know your self-worth, you know your value, when the work works as it has for you, now you're like, actually, I'm not colorblind. Right. The flag you're holding up is red. Before it was like gray. But now it's red.
Absolutely.
And I'm
Absolutely.
out.
And not allowing myself to be manipulated or to be afraid of being stern. Because one of my major issues with manipulators used to, you know, they would say things like, if you can so easily run away, like, I don't want you anyway. And I would be like, oh my God, no, like, I'm a rider, I promise. Like, no, we can work through this. Like, right? So they would manipulate you in ways like that, even though they did something really wrong and you're just trying to walk away.
That was me.
Right. So in those moments in the past, I would be like, you know, I would want to fix it. I wouldn't want them to think that I messed up. That's what manipulators do. They twist it and they make you the wrong one. And then at the end of the fight, you're apologizing, even though they cheated on you or something like that.
Oh, I know. I know all too well.
You know all of this?
Oh, I know all too
crazy.
well.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Oh man. So
I know.
This time, right? Because I still got tested, even though I'm all healed and grown. I still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
But you still get tests, right? So, for example, this past situation was a test to me. I was in a situation that I was starting to talk to someone, no sex involved whatsoever, like really just trying to get to know this person. And then the game started showing up, and I was understanding when it first happened, when it was something light, you know, and I was just like, okay, like I'm going to be understanding because you haven't given me a reason to think you're lying yet.
Yeah.
And then the moment that it was like clear lies, I was just like, I'm going to go now. Right.
Yeah.
And things like that were said where it was like, oh, well, if you can't stay around, like I wouldn't want that anyway, because you don't want to fight for this. And it was like, I spent enough time fighting in relationships.
Exactly.
I spent enough time, and I think we're all a little bit twisted up, and I think we all think that we need to fight to hold a relationship together. Fights are normal, you know, and yes, of course, arguments work through. Awesome. Great. Love that for you.
Sure.
But not you.
No. I got
anyone.
you.
People think that those raging things are like passion and love, and nah. Like I want to relax. I want pleasure. I want joy. I want smiles. I want picnics in the park. Like I don't think it's necessary to go at each other. I don't think that's necessary anymore, having been through it.
You want as close to effortless as you can get.
Exactly.
Because that's what you deserve.
Right.
There's always going to be ups and downs, bumps in the road.
Right.
But
we can talk about it, though. We can look each other in the eye and not fight and not worry about lies and manipulation.
And not only talk about it, but when you do talk about it, you can tell the other person is as committed as you are. So you're like, oh, this is worth it.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Like, hey, sit down next
Carry
to me.
on.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah, for sure.
With my ex, like he couldn't not raise his voice. Like he had to scream. And he would say something like, this is how this is how I express my emotions. If you can't handle it, like you're not going to let me talk about my feelings. And it's like, you can talk about your feelings, but why is the neighbor calling the cops?
Okay. So I had a little bit of that. I'm going to try to explain.
Okay.
I felt exposed right now. I was like, damn. Okay. I had a little bit of that, but I'm gonna give you the very short reason as to why, and then I'll explain. Okay. Instead of expressing that I was hurt and sad and confused as to how to resolve the situation, I was angry. Instead of addressing the true feelings that I was dealing with, I resorted to anger. Most men do that. It's the pride, it's the ego that get in the way. Okay. More the complex side of it is this: when we puff out our chest like that, just know we're scared because we're not in control of the situation and we don't know how to fix it. And as men, we are fixers. We are taught and raised and brought up to be fixers. If I can't fix a problem, I feel useless. No person, let alone man, wants to ever feel useless, especially when there's a problem at hand. He was going through that a lot. Now, I'm a very passionate person. When I'm half Italian. When I talk, I'm using my hands. I'm getting loud. I don't know why it's not happening. You know, it's happening now. But you know what I'm saying? But I had to realize that I don't always have to have the answers all the time. It's okay to be like, you know, honey, I'm not really sure. What do you think we should do? It's okay to do that. That's your partner for a reason. Lean on them every now and then. You can't be the rock all the time. It's not humanly possible. So just so you know, and women out there who were dealing with men like that, or my exes, there it is, you know, got your answers to here's your closure. But I had to realize that the hard way, through therapy, through trials and tribulations with my wife, to the point where I would argue with her. And this is like, she's not the first woman to tell me this. We would argue, right? And this was how good my skills were. She'd be like, halfway through the conversation, the argument, she's like, I don't even remember what my thoughts were anymore. Like, I forgot you took them from me. And I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible.
I relate.
That's so bad.
Wow.
I'm sorry now, but back then I was like, you got to be quick. You got to be better. It was crazy. But that's how I was brought up. I was brought up to fight to win at all costs. If I got to throw this haymaker at you and it knocks you out, then not physically, but verbally with my communication, then so be it. As long as I win. And that was it. And then I learned this recently. You're either going to be in a happy marriage or you're going to win every fight.
Oh, yeah.
You can't have both. And I was like, Damn. Well, that kind of makes sense. My mom's divorced 3 times. My pops, he's still a Rolling Stone. So, yeah, I'll try this out. I guess why not? And that's it. And last thing, and I'll let you get into it too, that my wife and I run with this motto. It's not about who's right or wrong in whatever disagreement or whatever argument. Who cares? It's about what's right or wrong for this marriage. And that's it. If you can keep that at the forefront, hold that umbrella under your head, and anything that falls under that, you're like, cool. But as long as that's at the forefront, let's start with that and go from there.
The way that you just explained, what's best for the relationship, that's something that I never had that moment. It was always like, this sucks for me, so I'm out. Okay. It doesn't feel good to look me in the face and talk about the truth. I got very uncomfortable when the truth came up in a conversation. Couldn't hold eye contact, couldn't say it out loud, wow. And I would get hot. Like, I really struggled with the truth. And it came from the years of like self-inflicting pain and all of this stuff that I didn't want anyone to see. I don't want you to look at me. I don't want you to know how sick I am.
But I can relate to that because I think that's when I would get loud. And that's when I would really yell because I knew you weren't off. I just didn't want to hear it from anyone but myself. And I wasn't going to own up to it and admit it, but I was like, I'll be damned if you keep doing this to me, even though you're right, even though what you're saying I need to fix, you're 100% accurate. But I think when men and or women just get really loud, it gets to a point where you're just now trying to be the loudest in the room. And guess what? I learned this after my sister and I had a World War III moment in February. And I realized, my therapist taught me this. He said, the loudest loses. And I was like, no wonder why I lost. You know what I'm saying? Like, the loudest in the room is always the one that loses, because you get to a certain point when you start raising your voice and yelling at people, you shut down, you shut off. So no matter how long he's on his rant for, or she's just going off on, I'm not going to register it. Another thing that's important too is to bring this up. Another life hack for women from men. So your boy was dealing with some anger issues. I've always had anger issues since I was a kid.
I don't see that in you. It's crazy. I cannot imagine you screaming.
As my wife over there is like, you have no idea. So damn. Yeah, I know. So here it is. Growing up, what really just set me off was 2 things. One, if you didn't let me talk. Ooh,
that's a lot of men.
If you don't let me get my words out, I feel sorry for you. The second thing is this. If you're just not, even if you let me get my words out, if you're not willing to actually listen to understand instead of listening to reply, we're going to have some problems. I reverted to anger. Now, back to what I said earlier, which is, although I was showing anger, I was really just hurt and sad and confused and didn't trust you enough to resolve this problem. So with all that being said, I get this book, Anger Management for Men. But the subtitle, which should be the title, I always say this about this book, was Learning How to Master Your Emotions and Articulate Your Feelings. Hello, we can all read that, first of all.
Yes, we all can.
So I read this book, and one of the things that it says is the prefrontal cortex, which is right here on your brain, is actually the size of an almond. Now, the prefrontal cortex is like the rational part of your brain that says, do this, don't do that, and when, okay? Now, here's the life hack. Women have a bigger prefrontal cortex than men.
Wow. I love that.
So,
I love that.
With that being said,
mine's bigger than yours.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it always will be. Size doesn't matter, but you know what I'm saying. So, anyways.
Let's not ask that question. No.
It definitely does for both of us. But anyways, so because your prefrontal cortex is larger than mine, you're going to have more wherewithal and hindsight in the moment. You're going to be able to rationalize things a little bit quicker than I may. That's why it's like when we lose our mind and we start just popping off at you, we come back, whether it's hours later or hopefully not, but days later, and we're like, my bad, I'm sorry. Because that hindsight takes that long. It takes that long. And the longer that it takes, here's another life hack. I'm going to call this life hacks from men to women.
Just giving all the nuggets today.
Here it is. You're going to know how much work a man has done on himself based on the time it takes him to resolve a problem. That was really good. I'm gonna just like go more into that because you guys are gonna love this.
Okay.
If it takes me days, I just think I'm not the problem. I'm just tired of arguing with you. Right. So I'll just say I'm sorry or whatever. I don't mean it. I'm just trying to save face, or I'm just trying to have sex, or I'm just trying to get something out of this, right? For selfish reasons. Right. If it takes a couple minutes or a couple hours, you know I've been doing the work. Right. And especially when I come correct, not just necessarily admitting that I'm wrong, but admitting that there is a problem, accepting that, okay, you're right. Something's not right here. What can I do to better serve you and uplift you? And what do you need from me to get you to understand me a little bit more? That's a man who's done the work.
Okay. What about?
Sure.
Okay, devil's advocate.
Yeah, go ahead.
What about the manipulators who continuously do really twisted
The manipulators,
okay, go ahead.
Don't do the work.
Okay, but you're saying it shows up on how quickly they can resolve it. So what if someone is screaming in my face to the point of police coming and within 20 minutes, he's like, baby, I love you. I'm sorry. Like, come here, give me a hug. And it's like, I don't want to hug you. I am afraid of you. But they do stuff like that all the time. And they're able to like shut off the fact that something messed up just happened. And they think that fixing it is like being affectionate and loving. But like, I'm still afraid and very hurt about what you just did.
2 reasons. If you tell me as a black man that the cops are coming, I'm going to get fixed real quick. The second thing is, if I come to you like that, where, how long did you say? 20 minutes?
Yeah, sometimes it could be right away.
No problem.
In the middle of the screaming, he's like, come here. And it's like, I don't know.
He doesn't think the problem is as big as what it actually is.
Exactly.
So he's just going to shove it in the rug and keep it moving.
And that's different than resolving something quickly.
Of course, it's a Band-Aid.
There's a fine line there.
It's a Band-Aid. There's no sustainable resolution. Right. It's just like, all right, we messed up. Let's just get back to us. But here's the thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. That might happen for women when men do that. I said this to you yesterday. People will forget what you said, but they're not going to forget how you made them feel.
Exactly.
So what's happening is he's constantly putting these scars on you and your relationship. And sometimes scars don't really heal the way that you want them to. So you now have this like resentment bucket. You got this like, I look at you different bucket. You have the, I don't really respect you as much as I did bucket. Right. And if you keep filling up that bucket, eventually you're going to be like, I got nothing for you.
Right. Except good sex. Right.
Well, yeah.
That's toxicity.
Toxicity.
And then the only thing that's keeping you together
exactly.
is sex.
But that's like the biggest Band-Aid of all, right? Because it all goes away when you're having sex and you're doing your thing. But then as soon as it's over and you get into another fight, and then the vicious cycles continues. Exactly. But that's a scary cycle. But again, that's also if the sex is like the solution, we'll just say, that also says not only a lot about the man, but about the woman.
Absolutely.
Because she's allowing that fake Band-Aid to repair, as I use, if you're listening to this, I'm using quotation marks, to repair the problem.
Right. And that's important to touch on in this moment as I talk about how this ex made me feel. I was not perfect.
Right.
There is a reason that he got that mad.
It takes two.
He carried a lot of resentment for dishonesty on my end, right? But I was quiet and didn't scream, so was I really wrong? Like in my mind, you know what I mean?
Sure.
At the time, like I was just like so angry that he was screaming at me, but I didn't pay attention to the fact that like, I don't want to say I made him that way because a man does what he wants.
Oh, for sure.
His actions are his actions, but you know, I was not the best. I was not a good girlfriend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you were both toxic.
Super toxic.
And you're not right for one another.
And I was wrong for lying, and he was wrong for getting you know, violent. You know, so either way, we were both wrong. But
for sure. And 2 things I'll say. One is that book I gave you attached is really going to help you in that. The other thing is, I said this on another episode that when you're in your next relationship, Here's a tip from our marital therapist. When you guys are really good and everything's going great, in that moment, both take out a sheet of paper or your notes on your iPhone and write down how you want to be communicated to in times of disagreement. Do it on the best day that you guys have ever had, okay? Right. So then when the rainy day comes and the problem arises, you can pull out that handy dandy list and be like, okay, so you're popping off right now, but remember, you actually told me this is how you need and want to be communicated during a time like this. These are your words. You said it. That helps out so much. Wow. Because when you're having the sunny day and everything's all good, you have clarity, you have hindsight, which is what you strive to get in a problem situation, but we don't have. You do a little bit more because the prefrontal cortex is bigger than the man. But yeah, little tip for you.
Because we're so emotional. You know what
I
mean? Women, we're so emotional that sometimes we can't make any normal decisions, and we're just like emotion crying, hurt.
I always say women are driven by their emotions.
Absolutely.
And men are driven by their ego.
Absolutely.
So why do you think we always do this?
That's facts.
And men don't even know how to tap into most men don't know how to tap into the emotional part. Women have egos, but you can check it. I don't know how or why or what your solution is, but your remedy, but you guys can check it. We can't really even tap into our emotions. Again, that's why I'm angry at you instead of just saying I'm hurt and I'm sad. You hurt my feelings. Right. Your dishonesty hurt me. Right. That's hard for men to do. That would have been
nice to have that conversation instead of
Yeah, for sure. Because you would have been like, oh man, you being hurt really hurts me. And maybe that would have been a wake up call for you.
It might have been.
Well, we'll never know.
Well,
maybe. But anyways.
A closure conversation will happen one day.
For sure. Okay. So that's what we do here at Who Can Relate. We do closure calls. No. Yeah. But moving right along. So recapping a little bit, you've been through a lot. And again, I said to you yesterday, it's not a matter of if, it's when, right? We get dealt with life's problems. But when you were dealing with all these life problems and you were going through all that you went through, at a certain point in time, you channeled all of the above. You took all of your lessons and you were like, I'm going to create a company. I'm going to start a business. One, for the physical part of it, which you can get into. And then two, for the mental and overall message of what your brand and company stands for. So let's talk about Loveon.
I love Loveon. I love it so much. It's made me cry.
I should have said, let's talk about your baby.
Let's talk about my baby. It's interesting because I talked about this on a video recently, but I'll just go over it again. I started with no knowledge on business or anything, I didn't graduate high school. Like I shared, I didn't go to school afterwards. I was always hustling. I was working. I worked at gyms. I was a nanny. I just random like that. I was never a stripper, I swear to God. As much as people think so.
Make that clear.
Anyway, as I started my personal growth journey, one of the most beautiful things that I want people to know about taking your personal growth journey seriously is that God starts talking to you and creativity starts flowing and you start finding that you actually are good at things and you have some good ideas and you might have a niche that you didn't think of before because your brain was so clouded by either depression or unhealthy habits and food and people. And as soon as you start removing those things from your life, things start showing up, right? And I considered Loveon to be a gift from God to me because I was a person that thought they had absolutely no talent, nothing to offer the world.
Wow.
I didn't know how to do anything in my brain. I wanted to be a singer since I was about 9 or 10 years old.
Okay.
And my stage fright was so severe that I couldn't even sing in front of one person, let alone on stage. So I tried it a couple times in my adulthood, but I couldn't sing in the studio because there was the person who had to record me, So I was like, okay, this isn't going to work for me, I guess. Sure. So I'm back to that point where I'm like, what the am I going to do with my life? Like, I know I have potential. I'm a strong personality. I have an impact. Like, I know the effect I have on people. There's got to be something here for me, right? But I'm like, I got nothing. Like, I can't even do the thing that I really want to do. Like, what am I supposed? I don't want to be working at gyms and restaurants for the rest of my life. Like, I got something bigger and I don't know what it is. And it drove me up the wall. And as I started breath work and exercise and eating right and all of that, one day I had this idea for leggings that stemmed from this really sad girl who every time she put something on her body cried, literally. Like in dressing rooms, I cried, and I had to be held by my mother in dressing rooms when I was like 14, 15, and I was like, why can't I just find something that, like, through this journey of getting comfortable with myself, can I be held during this time? Can I be held by a fabric that, because that's the immediate thing on your body throughout the day is your clothes.
Sure.
That's what's holding you. That's what's touching you. That's what your body is feeling, right? Yeah. But nothing felt good. Everything felt too tight. Everything felt or too loose and made me bigger than I actually was. Or, all of these things that I was like, damn, it really broke my heart. And that's why, like, I made a joke of like, leggings aren't that serious, but like, it really is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And women know this because women know that there is nothing more upsetting and nothing that keeps us hidden more than the way we feel about our bodies. So when I had this idea, it came from a thing like leggings, which is, so many people make leggings. There are so many legging brands. Yeah. But then why did I never find something that I made? Thousands of legging brands, maybe millions, I don't know, across the world. But nothing compared to what I created. And they're still not perfect. They're still not what my brain wants them to be. And that's solely because I have a blueprint and I have to give it to the person to sew. Okay. So there's that point where, like, I don't have control over it anymore. So there's a lot of problems that arise with that, but my mission stays the same. And either way, every girl who puts on these leggings feels something different.
Every man that feels their girl in the leggings. Let me just point this out really quick.
I get messages like this all the time.
So Shay got some leggings from you, and she puts them on. We were like laying on the couch, and I was like rubbing her leg, and I was like, damn. I was like, what's this? And the first thing that came to my mind, I was like, it feels like butter. It feels so soft. It's like you don't even have anything on. It was like crazy. And she was like, imagine how I feel, because I'm wearing them. And I'm like, this is dope. So you have an impact on men too, just so you know.
I love that. And I really love hearing that. And I think it's really important to continue touching on the fact that this, in my mind, was the first pair of leggings that wasn't created for the gym. It was not what it was created for, because all women know that we wear leggings more out of the gym, right? We wear them when we want to be comfortable. We want to just throw something on to run errands that just kind of holds us in, and we can wear anything with it. Leggings is like, every girl has a million pairs of leggings, right? And so they were not made for that. It was just the only pair of clothing that I knew was a go-to for me during my weight gain, weight loss, up and down, in and out. You know what I mean? So that was where I went with it. And that's why when people ask me, like, does it have elastic to whatever? And it's like, that's not what it's for. It's not what it's for. It's to be comfortable. Do some girls wear it to the gym? For sure. Do I? Yeah. Yes. But we're not here to, like, create the best, most effective pair of workout leggings. Sure. So when I created this product and I started getting messages from women who battle self-image and stuff like that, and tears from their eyes of like, I finally feel held, and I finally feel like I can walk outside, when yesterday I was really upset with my body and I didn't want to leave the house, and I couldn't fit in the jeans that I wanted to wear, and the leggings were squeezing my belly. Yeah. And today, like, I feel naked, but I feel bulletproof, and I feel like this is what my shape is supposed to look like. Wow. And I got messages like that all day, every day.
What does that do for you?
Dude, I was like, I wish I had these when I was 15. Like, if I had these leggings when I was 15, maybe I would have had some happier days. Sure. Maybe I would have had some days where I didn't want to, hurt myself or.
But knowing that women feel that, and knowing that you essentially gave them that feeling, what does that do for you? Like let that. Here's the deal: when you're in it, you get like lost, right? Like, I get it. You're such a hard worker. Like, sometimes you forget why you started. Sometimes you're reading the testimonials and the comments, and you're like, yeah, thank you so much, but let me get back to work, right? But like, take a moment right now to understand you gave women the feeling that you were searching for since you were 14 or 15 years old. You did that. How wild is that?
Oh man, it really is wild. And I get hard on myself. Because they're still not what I want them to be, right? So because of that, I'm like, I don't even know. Like, and I'm just continuously working and trying to get it right. Yeah. And not having a business background or a fashion background or knowing the language of thread and fabric, I just touch. I touch and I create samples, and I do it a million times over.
Sure.
But the language is what's missing for me, which is why there's a lot of inconsistency and lack of knowledge on the product or the fabrics that I'm using, and do they match with the threads that this seamster is using and this one isn't using, right?
Sure.
So there ends up being all of these changes and mistakes and all of these things, and I'm sitting on the floor crying, but there's a woman messaging me like, hey, I got my package today and I just want to tell you that my life changed today. And I'm sitting there like, it's not good enough. It's not good enough, you know?
Well, what happens is often, because I can relate to you from this show, and you are finding things to complain about, like why it's not perfect, instead of taking a moment to be grateful for what it's actually still doing. Okay. So that's what happens to me when people comment and they message me and they text me or whatever it is, and they're like, great episode, I can relate to it, and I was going through this and this helped me, and so on and so forth. I'm always like, that's great. You have no idea what's coming, because I have so many more guests that I'm going to have on and we're going to talk about. And in my head, I'm like, they have no idea, but my mic was messed up the entire episode and it drove me crazy. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Or like, they have no idea, but like what it took to get like the camera right. You know what I'm saying? So I have to, that's why I told you, like, you have to take a moment, because I'm telling myself that right now. Like, we have to do a better, as creators, we have to do a better job of one thing and one thing only. Stay in the present moment. Stay in the present moment. Right. Understand where you were. That part. As Biggie said, it was all a dream. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, you had this thought. I listened to the interview you did on YouTube, and you said your homegirl and you guys were talking. And she was like, well, why don't you just create some leggings? Like, take it back to that point. Yeah. I'll take it back to the moment someone was like, you should start a podcast. Right. I wasn't even listening to podcasts when they asked, when they said to do that. And then here we are, helping people, literally like changing lives. Like, that's wild.
And the first thought for you probably too was like, how am I going to do that?
Oh, for sure.
What am I going to do? I don't know how to do that. What do I need? What's the criteria? You know what I mean? So when my girl said that to me, I was like, I don't know how to do shit.
Sure.
I would love to create a pair, but I don't know what fabric looks like. I don't know where to look for the, you know, and she's like, why don't you just start looking where to look?
But you had that feeling like I did, because of imposter syndrome. And
heavy imposter syndrome.
As I, and it's crazy because, like I just said, we're changing lives, we're helping so many people out, and yet we feel like we're still going through like some type of imposters. It's wild. But let's talk about it, because it's real. It's real, right? Yep. So I'll let people in on a little bit of information for what I was going through days before I launched this show. I was in my office, heavy in the lab, getting everything ready, getting it right as best as it could be, because I'm a crazy perfectionist. I actually have a book called Perfectionism is the Mask of Depression. It's like real. Like, there's levels to this, okay? Exactly. So everything has to be so perfect that I get depressed about not even doing it, right? So a couple of days before I do this launch, and I walk out of the office just to take a break, and Shay was like, how's it going? And I went to talk, opened up my mouth, and then I was moved to tears. And I was like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Now, this was like 4 days before I was launching, okay? And she's like, why? What's going on? Like, what do you... And I was like, who am I to think that I can help people? Right. Who am I to think and ask someone to take an hour out of their day once a week to listen to me and or my guest that I have on? Who am I to request this? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, you know what I mean? And I had that moment, and then I was like, this is imposter syndrome. Like, this is what they mean when they talk about it. Can you relate to that?
Absolutely. I mean, first off, with this podcast specifically, you know, we had talked about me doing this during a time where I literally thought my business was about to be closed down. Like, and all in my brain. Yeah. All like just
not facts.
Just like what I came up with, right?
Yeah.
There was just so many little technical difficulties and little mistakes that I had made because I'm a creative and not a business person. Sure. And I need to stop saying that, because what we say becomes reality, and I need to stop repeating that I'm not good at business. Don't put that out there in the energy. Yeah. I've made it this far. I'm in my 3rd year of this business, and it pays my bills, and I don't have any other job.
You're doing something right.
So, right, there's no side hustle. This is my career. And then the mental health and self-love stuff, I was really struggling at this time too. I was going through one of my phases where I'm not 100% all the time, right? And I was like, I was falling apart a little bit. And I had a couple days where I wasn't answering calls, and I didn't get up for the gym, and I ordered some really unhealthy shit on Postmates. And I called my ex. You know what I mean? Like, man. But I didn't do anything. Worse. But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have days, there's so much less now and such a bigger period of time where it doesn't happen, but it still happens.
But see that, sorry, really quick. That's because you're doing the work. Right. Remember I said the guys who take days to get like the hindsight moment, they haven't done the work. Right. If it takes you like a day or then a couple hours or best case scenario, a couple minutes, you're doing the same thing. It used to take you days to get back. Now it may be
weeks, sometimes months.
There you go.
Completely.
But all the work is coming out. So sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. It's true. That's the most beautiful part, and something that I always have to recognize and be grateful for. And also learning to love that moment where I return to myself. Yeah. That moment of return, that moment of like, oh, there she is.
And when you hit that groove.
There she is.
Like when you get that moment back and you start to hit that groove and you start rolling, you're like, this is who I am.
This is me, right? This is me and my purpose. And this is what it actually is supposed to feel like. That other is fake. That other is an illusion. That other is your little ego negative mind. Like that is not real, right? And that's the most terrifying part about it, because it's real when it's happening and no one can tell me differently. Exactly. Right? So back to this podcast, during this time of things falling apart completely around me and I've destroyed everything, you know. Like, really. And no one knows this is happening. Sure. At this time, people are like, hey, Sarah, can you help me? I'm trying to become a better person. And you just seem like the best person. And I'm like, yo. You're like, I'm a mess. And I'm sitting on the bathroom floor in my underwear while I'm reading this message.
It's like one of those things when someone tries to FaceTime you, you're like, ooh, I can only text.
Right. I can only text. Sorry, I had to get your call. So yeah, this podcast is about, you know, who can relate, and positivity and mental health, self-love, relationships, all of these things, and mastery in some of these places, right? Which is one of the reasons that you wanted me to be on here, because you felt that I had mastered some of these parts and you wanted me to discuss how I got to this place. So knowing that that's why you asked me, I was like, who the am I? Like, I'm not the one. I'm not the one. My business is a joke. Like, I am nowhere where I want to be in my life. You know, it's not even what it's supposed to be. Like, I feel fat today. Like, you know, and this man wants me to come and help other people. And this is just in like one day of feeling this way. When the rest of 6 days of the week, I was amazing and on top of my game and totally walking in my purpose, right? So like, that imposter syndrome shows up all the time where I'm like, who am I to talk about healthy relationships and health period and, you know, self-love when I don't feel that way right now. But then it diminishes, and then I return to self and I have my like come to moment. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh yeah. And that goes back to not waiting to help people till I'm perfect. 'Cause I'm, as much as I want to be, I am never going to be perfect. I'm going to strive for it continuously. I'm never going to stop. But understanding that it's not actually attainable is what was missing for me, you know?
But let's talk about that, because I was that person too, where I was like, I can't do X without Y and Z. Exactly. For some reason, I was like, I can't start this show until I have X amount of money. Right. I can't start this show until I have X amount of equipment. Right. I can't start this show and, all these different excuses. And I'm like, there's a great quote that says, progress is better than perfection. Done is better than not done. Just start it. The rest will take care of itself. But why do we feel like we have to have everything perfect before we just roll out our baby?
It's a choice. And that's what I learned through all these processes that I've been on, even with music, right? It's the choice that you're like, I'm done with the excuses. Yeah. Because all of the excuses, I think, are also kind of an illusion. Like, anytime I even I have like one toxic friend left in my life, and it's only because like she's been my friend for like 15 years. And I just love her to death. But she knows, and I'll tell her this to her face, like, she has patterns and always excuses of why she's still in the hometown and why she hasn't left and why she's still in toxic relationships. And every time I give her the solution, she's always like, oh, but I don't have enough money to like start that yet.
It's always an excuse.
You know, this is how my parents were, so this is how I am. Yeah. Or just all of these things. And it's like, it's very hard to listen to when I had it the same or worse.
Right.
But we're in very different places, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just about the choices we made.
Exactly.
That's really what it comes down to. We made different choices, and I decided to make gold out of my dust. Like, you know what I mean? It's what you choose to do. And it's really a very quick moment, which is what I learned in one of these personal growth workshops, is like a choice literally is an instant, right?
Yeah.
It's cold turkey in a sense, and it's hard for people to do that. Mm-hmm. But physically, it's possible.
Totally.
If in this moment I say, I'm never going to eat cake ever again,
yeah.
it's possible to
100%.
stick to that. It is possible.
There's one of my new favorite authors. His name is Jim Quick, and he says something in his book, Limitless. He says, one step in the right direction can change your entire destination. Like, that's what you did, and that's what you continue to do, and that's what I continue to do. Mm-hmm. We choose to make the choice to make life what we want it to be to our best abilities.
Absolutely.
That's it. Mm-hmm. You can either choose to sit at home today and feel sorry for yourself and play the victim role, or you could be like, you know what? This isn't going right. I got to switch it up. Mm-hmm. And it starts today. Mm-hmm. It's all about a choice. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate that you said that, because that's going to really be something good for so many people who, I mean, if I saw you on a podcast and someone asked you that question like 4 months ago, I would have been like, man, that's it. Yeah, I'm telling you, like.
And that's the stuff that got me up and going and to make choices, was hearing people say that they made the choice, or, hey, look, it's literally this easy right now. You can choose this. Yeah. And that changed my life. It also gets to me because I can make like 100 choices in one day and like 60 of them stick. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm so aware of how powerful those choices are that I'm like, I'm going to choose this and this and this and this, because I'm always trying to fix a million things about myself at once, you know, but I stick with that vision of like, I'm going to just keep choosing until it works. Yeah. I'm going to keep choosing, and then something sticks, and then the next day, at least that's gone, and I've already accomplished that, right? And we just keep moving. Well,
you figure out what doesn't work for you. Exactly. But the only way you get to that is if you try to see what does. Right. And then weed out the stuff that doesn't, stick to the things that do, create your own cocktail, right? In the best way possible. Exactly. And you're going to be all right. Right. But you don't know unless you try to start to do some stuff. Right. So, home stretch. I know this episode is going to help out so many people.
I hope so. I feel like I just rambled on time, but it's cool.
No, I promise. That's what happens when you talk for a while. You're like, what did I say? Right. But I always, because of that, I always, give the guests an opportunity to kind of do like a little highlight reel of a recap. So what do you want people to take away from this episode? What do you think that you really want them to be able to relate to after all that we shared?
I think all in all, I would like for people to see that it is possible to change and that it is possible to become something that you might think is impossible, right? Because everything that I am doing today, everything that I've become, as much as I don't feel finished, it's all stuff that I was, praying to God for many years ago, right? And in times that I had no means or had no idea how it was going to happen, it was impossible, right? Yeah. But I did it. Yeah. Right. And I feel like I conquered some enormous things, mental health being one of them, and toxic relationships and body dysmorphia, all these things that I didn't think I can get out of. So whoever's watching this, whatever their demons are, it is possible to get out of that and to rise and to become something that was totally light years away at the time. Yeah. So that's the most important thing here, because there is nothing like the feeling of like, oh, I didn't think I could do this, and I'm walking in it right now. For sure. And to add to that too, you said this, it's because of choice. If I can piggyback off it and take a page from your book, I hope people take away from this episode one thing, that it's all a choice. Whatever you're going through, it's a choice to stay in it or to get out of it. Nothing is permanent, right? Things are temporary for a reason. So just keep that in mind. If you have a bad day, you're going through a rough breakup, you're going through grieving a loss, you're going through getting fired from your job, whatever it is a moment. This too shall pass, but you have to make that choice to be aware of that. The other thing I think I'll add as a takeaway is that you have everything that you need, right? People always think like, I need this, I need that before I do, as we kind of touched on, but you said something at this point, it was a long time ago in the episode, but you were saying how, you were like, who am I? Like, I don't have the tools to do all this stuff, but it's like, newsflash, you do. And you're proof of that.
Like, you had all the tools you needed to just at least get started. And now here you are, you said 3 years with your company, rolling. So you had everything you needed. It was within you. You just needed to clear the clutter in your mind. You needed to clear the imposter syndrome. You needed to clear the self-doubt, the talking down to yourself. Clear all that off and just stay in the present moment and just understand what you want to create and why you want to create it. The where, when, and how will take care of itself. Who would have thought, right now today, you were in San Diego still doing Loveon, all this. Who would have thought that 3 years ago?
Not me.
The where will take care of itself. The when will take care of itself, and the how. You just figure out what and why. So I think it's also important too. Okay, the fun part of the episode, the round of rapid fire questions. As I always say, the guest is not prepared for this at all. This is why I say it's the fun part for me. But I love asking everyone relatively the same questions because I love the different answers, which in turn is actually different perspective. So here we go. Question number 1 is, who is or was your role model?
Okay. Well, my mom was the first person that came to my brain.
Sure.
And then I also thought of like musical artists that walked me through a lot of depression times because they were open about dealing with their depression. So Kehlani was somebody that I picked up a lot of my personality from her, to be completely honest. I found her when I was probably 17 or 18.
Okay.
And I think she was younger than me.
Wow.
She's a year younger than me.
Wow.
Maybe 18 or 19, but still. And I was in, just some relationships and also the lack of self-love stuff. And she was very open and shared it so beautifully in her poetry and her lyrics. And, wasn't afraid of letting the public know, like, hey, I deal with this and this is what's going on, and I just connected with that because of wanting to be an artist my whole life. I was like, when I become an artist, and get to really spread my message and use my voice, I'm going to be raw like that. And I'm going to be authentic like that. And I'm not going to hide, the sadness that I dealt with because I know everyone deals with it.
Yep.
And to hear someone doing it and, making it and talking about it, like, makes me want to be happy. It makes me want to fight for my happiness.
Totally.
So if I can have that impact on somebody, like, that's what I'm going for, right?
I said in my About Me video, that everyone is going through something, but nobody wants to talk about it until they hear someone else talking about it first. Right. And that seems like Kehlani was that for you.
Right. And that's what she helped me do in even moments like this, where it's like, damn, I just said I was a cheater. I just said I was suicidal. I just said all these things that might get some people to make fun of me or whatever. I don't care. No. I don't know. You open yourself up to shit like that when you tell the truth. But
Trust me.
Cool. I don't care.
Trust me.
Yo, let it come. Let it come. But, that's something that she did for me where it was like, I'm not afraid to share any of
Sure.
because it's who I am. So if I'm not cool with who I am, like, what am I doing in my life, right?
And the reason why I say it's not going to happen here is because people will be able to relate to what you're saying. So. I promise you.
It's just the truth,
don't even
man,
worry.
But then there's my mom who, like, she's 4 kids on her own, like, battled poverty for so many years, and now she's like living the dream in Florida with the love of her life. She just bought a house.
Good for her.
Oh my God. And coming from poverty, for a woman to buy a house in her 50s is like victory. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And she's happy and she's serving. She's, like I said, health and wellness, and helps so many people. Like, such a magical human being and my best friend, and so intelligent. And man, if I could be half of what she is,
I love it.
I'm lucky.
I love it.
Those are definitely the people that had the biggest impact for me.
Cool. Yeah. See, this was easy. Second question. What's one thing you would like people to know about you that they may not?
I think the one thing that I've explained more, but I can just touch on it openly now, is my roots are hippie. My roots are hippie, like, from where I was birthed in Israel. I was born in a shack. I was not born in a hospital. Home birth, like, literally barefoot kid, flowers in my hair. You know what I mean? So I tried to find my way back to that while I was getting lost in Miami and LA. And being introduced to the celebrity world and, the cool and whatever. I was starting to, like, fall off of who I really was, and the spirituality path that was, like, embedded in me. Even though I didn't have the answers yet, I knew that I wasn't being myself. So now that I'm showing more of my real self on social media, I think some people think that like she's doing this for a show or like she's changing now. And it's like, I'm actually kind of like finding my way back. And I think that's important for me to say. If you ask me like what people should know, I want you to know that this is the real me for the first time in my life. This is who I really, really am.
I love it.
And I would like people to meet me here and not look at my past layers, right? Like, this is it for me.
Yeah, and I think too, like, you know, your soul brought you back to that. You know, like I truly feel that I had a Reiki healing session one time, and she was telling me how, you know, the more I'm able to get to the ocean, the better my life will be.
God, exactly.
And I mean, that's, people are probably like, well, dude, it's the ocean, of course. But no, it's like, it's different for me. Like, so now I run along the ocean and I never feel more clear, more at peace, more centered in my life than when I'm with the ocean. Right. And it's crazy because I'm a kid from Chicago. There's a lake that looks like an ocean, but it's not the same, right? So I always try to dig my feet and ground myself into the earth and feel the ocean and just let it take over. So I feel like your soul kind of brought you back to your roots. Question number 3. What do you want to be known for when you leave this earth? Think legacy.
Legacy. I'm like the best cornhole player in the world. No, okay.
So in Chicago, we call that bags.
Okay, everyone has their own.
Your boy's nice though. So whenever you're ready, let me know.
You don't want this smoke.
I got a curve. You don't even know about the curve.
I got the curve. Don't come here. No, but legacy. I want to be remembered for helping people step into their purpose. I want to be remembered for making people feel joy, right? I think that's that's something that I love hearing when someone's like, hey, I was having a really bad day and I'm happier now. Because I think a big part of my drive is wanting to make people happy. Yeah. At a time, it was a bad thing, needing to please everybody. But it stemmed from just wanting to serve and wanting people to take a better look at themselves and reach their highest potential. So all in all, I want people to be happy.
I love it.
That's what I want to be.
And you're doing that.
Helping them get there.
Well, you're on that path.
Thank you.
With your company, for sure.
Trying out here.
Question number 4. What does your dream life look like? Kind of sounds like you're living it.
You know, I kind of am.
Not mad at it.
I kind of live in it.
It's amazing.
There's really nothing I would change.
That's the first time someone's ever answered with that, by the way. Good for you.
I'm really happy. You know, I remember writing an essay maybe when I was like 16. And it was like, I'm 25. I live by the beach. I'm a vegan. I'm happy. I'm in the best shape of my life. And this is a little girl who's up writing this. And this is her biggest dream. Right? And I'm a singer. I didn't think I could do it. And all of that is right now reality. And I'm cool. Like, yes, I would love to have a partner. That would be part of my dream life for sure. But that's not unattainable. And it's not like, I wish one day. It's like, it's just on the path that I'm on right now. Like, this is joy for me. This is my dream life. This is, man, I'm super
beautiful.
Blessed. I'm super happy.
Good for you. I mean, when the manifestation actually comes to fruition.
So cool.
It's like, it's so hard to even put it into words, honestly. I have that in my wife. I have that in our life in LA. I have that with my daughter, and I have that with my furry son in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Incredible. But it's how I feel. You know, of course we want our dream house, and of course, you know, if she doesn't want to work, I would like to be able to provide that for her. But I'm good where I'm at, and it feels so good to feel that. But like truthfully feel that, you know what I mean? It's not a facade
and
situation.
More blessings are coming. Like,
for sure.
It's not like an obsession or a sadness. Like, I wish I could get there. Like, you're just walking your path right now, and it's coming.
Totally.
But you're happy right now, and that's what we were talking about. Like,
exactly.
Enjoy where you're at, because it's
lit.
Exactly.
All right. Last and final question for you. I'll put a drum roll in the edits. What do you admire most about you?
Someone asked me this yesterday on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
I said my time management skills. Just kill it. I'm like always on time, but nobody else ever is.
Especially in LA.
Oh, God. Brutal.
Yeah.
It's a superpower, if you ask me.
Out here it is.
What I admire the most about myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My resilience. I think that's the most powerful thing for me. Because I'm one of those people that's made the same mistake like hundreds of times, but I keep getting up, even in moments where, you know, like I said a few weeks ago, I was like really struggling and thought the business was going to close down. And I was in my storage unit going through my inventory, and I ended up on the floor crying, and I was like planning out my escape. I was like, I'm going to go live in the forest. I'm going to cancel everything, delete my Instagram, give up my apartment. I'm planning this out.
Wow.
And then I get up and I start counting my inventory, and then I leave and package my orders. And and I'm like, this is the epitome of like resilience. Like no matter how much you have these moments of like, I'm going to give up, I'm done. It's a wrap for me. I can't do this anymore. I'm not built for this.
Right.
Like my legs get up. You know what I mean? And it just, I keep it pushing.
Your legs get up in the leggings.
In the leggings
that they have on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wearing jeans today, but yeah, like resilience, man. I cannot tell you how many times I thought I was done.
Yeah.
Like so many times.
Well, that's perfect to roll into this part of the episode where I take the time to acknowledge my guest. So, just piggybacking off of what you just explained, which is resilience, you know, like from the couple times that I saw you in the gym, the you know, time I followed you on social media, I could see that even through, you know, a screen. You know, you can tell that you go through it sometimes, you know, and whether you shared that in a post or I just, you know, my intuition bone, as I told you about yesterday, is real, and I could feel that. But what I really want you to remember right now for yourself is like, you can do anything you set your mind to. And that's generally for you guys listening and watching, but I'm talking to you right now. Like you, Sarah, can do whatever it is that you want to do. And guess what? You already know that now. You proved that to yourself. That's why I think it's so important to just live in that moment of like, remember why you started. Remember and read and listen to all the testimonials and the beautiful messages that these women send to you. You are changing lives. Not only is that rare to say in this, you know what, of a year in 2020, but just where we are as a society in this world right now. If, God forbid, you were to check out today and God's like, time to come upstairs, Sarah, you change people's lives. Man. And you're so young, like, and you got so much more coming to you. So for whatever that's worth for you, I just want to just really let you in on that little secret about yourself, that you are changing lives. And it's an honor. It's a privilege. It's a blessing to know someone like you. I've been an admirer from afar. And I told you, like, when I had my baby, which is Who Can Relate, and I saw your baby being, you know, talked about in your interview, I was like, man, I relate to this so much, because you'll see why, kind of thing. Yeah. And I know what it is to go through all that stuff. So again, it takes one to know one. And, you know, in the moments of hustle and bustle and, you know, you're on your way to the studio after this, like, let's just take this little 30-second minute, you know, soliloquy that I have to just really bring you back to center and just understand that, like, you're doing it as we speak. You just answered, like, what does your dream life look like? You're like, I'm living it. Bro, no one says that. Nobody says that. I don't care how old you are. I think that's the first time I've ever even heard someone respond to that. That's dope. Wow. So, good for you. Again, I'm super honored and happy for you, and I want more people to know more about you. So tell people what you're working on next. I mentioned music. What's going on?
Ooh, music. Well, first and foremost, I have so many girls asking me about like my next collection, so that's super important.
Let's start with that. Yeah.
Don't have an answer, actually.
Okay, moving on.
I just want to touch on the fact that like I see all the messages, and I know that these bodysuits that I made recently just kind of flew off the shelves like unexpectedly. Yeah. They were like the new legging almost. I don't know how that happened. So I am working on a new collection, new colors, new bodysuits for sure. Like there's always more that I want to make. I want men's stuff. I want dresses.
If you need a model, let me know.
I want all the things. I got, thank you.
Come on now. You forget.
No, I
You saw the host skills.
Not a model right
you
now,
saw the host
know what I mean?
skills. Yeah, I got it. That still pays the bills.
Oh my God. I mean, it's never ending what Loveon is, which is the best part about it, because it's about wanting to create anything that we have an issue with and make it perfect. So there's a million things I can touch on. It's just about, kind of setting up a plan for that and capital, if any investors.
Hey.
No, just kidding.
But I'm not.
But no, thank God. I know what route I need to take. It's just more patience and a little bit more work on my end. But as far as music goes, I'm so grateful to be in a place that I am officially like recording real music and writing songs and seeing it come to life. It was another thing that happened through clarity in a clear channel, and I was just able to finally step into my purpose of singing and using my voice. So I do have actually a couple EPs that I'm working on right now.
Okay.
Because I don't have any sort of structure behind it, like management or anything, it's been hard to deal with like the politics and the business of it and mapping out the releases and stuff like that. But I am in the studio all the time. I drive here once, twice a week actually for the studio, super like quietly and just trying to get this done. But coming from a place of not even having one song recorded and now having like 15 maybe, like,
wow.
And I started in June.
See, just start.
So damn, like it's ready to go.
Good for you.
And all I care about is getting my voice out and my story out and continuing to help people with whatever comes out of my mouth.
Yeah, I love that. Well,
So
you said a lot today, and again, I know you're gonna help out so many people. I'll make sure everyone checks out Loveon. I'll make sure when you're ready for the music drop that everyone is aware of that. And again, full gratitude for you today.
Thank you. I'm so grateful.
You helped me out in some stuff. And again, I know you're going to help out a lot of people. And that's what this show is all about.
I love it.
So guys, if this helped you in any kind of way, well, let me rephrase that. I know this helped you in a lot of different ways. But if you know, exactly. But if you know some people that it can also help out, feel free to share with them. And, this is so dope, man. See, moments like this, I'm taking a moment right now for myself. Moments like this is why I created this. This was effortless. I told you, once we start recording, like you're going to forget how long it was. You're going to forget there's cameras rolling.
And thank you for doing that, for creating a space like this that it's like the cameras aren't rolling and you're just talking some real you know, and the only purpose here is to help people.
That's it.
And it's of quality. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
This just feels safe. It feels comfortable. And I'm a woman that searches for safety, especially sitting next to a man. So
wow, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Well, you had 2 hours of safety. So I'm glad I can provide that.
More than most.
Hey. But yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Gratitude.
Hey.